Olá, muito boa tarde, seja muito bem-vindo.
You all, we are starting our Set Experience Live. This event, it's a fully digital online event. We already explained all to you through our website. The Set Experience Live will take place today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, always at 2 p.m. It's a live event, so you can interact with us and the opportunity to explore and discuss the major themes related to technology, the marketplace, legislation regarding broadcasting and entertainment innovation. We have now the president of SET, Carlos Fini. Good afternoon, everyone. As was said, I am Carlos Fini, the current president of SET. And at this point of the year, in an ordinary year, would have had the chance to meet in many opportunities. The SET events are very much waited for, and in one of them we would have met. But although the circumstances, we wanted to pursue and reach our goal to produce and disseminate knowledge in media and entertainment dedicated to technology and business. Therefore, I have the honor to be part of the opening moment of the live experience event. And since August 31st, in an effort to the cooperation of the sector, from today up to the 3rd of this month, we'll have webinars, speeches, and considerations by those major players of the market, tackling the most important subjects, the world hyperconnected, the future of the TV and media and the internet. It's a pleasure to meet you. The technology that we have studied and study and develop enable us to do this. We are far from each other, but together. I would like to thank the companies and the association that partnered with us, domestically, international, as well as the sponsor that helped us to enrich the event as a whole. Of course, there's a special attention from SAT that started from the ground and assembled everything we're seeing today digitally that has overcome the landmark of 80,000 users. Well, check all the videos that at the Academy of SAT available that will help the improvement of the professionals of our sector. Have a good event, and once again, thank you. Thank you, Carlos Fini, president of SAT. Today's first theme is the hyperconnected world, how technologies can connect people to machines and machine to machine, as we are doing today. Well, this network was a privilege of the major and global entities a couple of years ago, but now with a single camera in on the hand and an idea in the mind, the cultural, geographical, and technological barriers disappear, and this enlargement of the many business models that will take us to this world hyper connected, led by Daniela Souza and Wagner Kojum. Daniela is a member of the SAT Advisory Board and Vice President of AD Digital. And Wagner Kojum is Head of Innovation of Digital Business, Stefanini. It's good to have you here, but before passing the floor, I'd like to inform you that the chat is running and we use it to pass the messages as a whole. Daniela and Kojo, welcome. Thank you, Livia. It's a pleasure to be with you, especially with my colleague Wagner Kojo that has helped us a lot for preparing this first day. As you all can see, I thank for your presence here. It's a lot of rain in São Paulo, and there are members and participants from many states of Brazil and from many places in the world. As you can see, SET has always launched the traditional conference. We have a niche at each day a subject. And today is the hyper-connected world, and we have major players, uh, famous and notable people that will share their experience. It's a great moment for us. Kojo, with me, sharing this first moment of moderation. I will let you talk about what we have prepared for today. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll have a overview talking about the technology paving and IoT, AI, wearables, how all this range of technology is disseminating that is paving the future, same and establishing to come. And we'll have the different points of view from the Western and the Eastern world. And finally, we land in the context of Brazil, how Brazil is working in these activities, what is doing, and how can we learn and speed up this all of this here in Brazil. It will be very interesting. Well, good. It's a fantastic day to start, and we have four very notable guests. And the first is Renato Citrini, has participated in other conference of SAT. He's product marketing manager of Samsung. Also, we have João Ribeiro, digital innovation manager of Honda. Fabrício Lira, head of data and artificial intelligence from IBM, leading all the Watson initiatives in Brazil. And from the Silicon Valley, a Brazilian person, which is André Veloso from Drumware. He's the CEO of Drumware. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. Thank you, Donnie, in behalf of Samsung, to have this opportunity to talk about innovation technology in the future. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Hondo, I think this will be a fruitful conversation. Thank you, SAT and Danny, for the invite. It's a great honor, a great pleasure to share with you this Tuesday afternoon about the experience on it that IBM holds. Thank you, Dani. It's a pleasure to be here along with you.
Muito bem, pessoal. Então vamos começar.
Good. Now we'll
Bem,
start.
vocês sabem que esse nosso
As you
primeiro
know, the
debate, ele
first
vai ser
discussion will
antecipatório
be
daquilo
a
que a gente vai discutir
preparation
durante a tarde de hoje.
for what will be
Nesse debate, a gente
seen
vai
this
discutir
afternoon. In
justamente
this
as
debate, we'll
tecnologias que
discuss
vêm
technology
pavimentando
that
esse
are
futuro
paving
do mundo
the
hiperconectado.
future of the hyperconnected
Para que a gente
world.
possa, assim,
So,
dar só um
to
contexto inicial,
make a
basicamente vocês
brief
sabem que o
explanation of
5G
the
vem
context,
chegando com uma
you know
força
that
incrível,
5G
a
is
internet das
coming
coisas
strongly,
cada vez mais
IoT as
uso
well, more and more
de máquinas
being
inteligentes,
applied in
e a
the
conexão
intelligent
dessas
machine,
três
and the combination
tecnologias vai
of the
criar um
three
nível de
technologies
potencialidade
will
em
create a level
casos
of
de uso
exponential
talvez nunca
use
percebidos
that has
em
never
todas as
been
evoluções
seen in
da
all
humanidade passou, o 5G foi
revolutions that
totalmente
humanity
disruptivo como
have
nunca,
gone
né?
through.
Então as nossas casas
So
passarão a ser
our
mais
homes will
inteligentes,
be more
as
smart,
cidades,
the
os veículos, a
cities,
gente vai
the
aproveitar o nosso tempo de
vehicles
ócio,
will be
ocupação do nosso
the
tempo de forma diferenciada,
displacement in vehicles will
daqui a
be
pouco,
enjoyed
quando a gente
in a
tiver
better
acesso
way,
às
and
tecnologias
the
de realidades
immersion
virtuais,
experience
holografismo,
like
tudo isso vai
VOR
mudar
and
a maneira como a
holography
gente se
will
relaciona,
change
a maneira
how
como a
we
gente se
relate
comporta,
to
a maneira
each
como a gente
other, how we
vive os
behave,
nossos
and how
momentos
we live
de
our
entretenimento. Bom,
entertainment
diante
or
disso,
entertaining
e antes de
moments. So
passar a palavra
facing
para
all of
vocês,
this
comentar muito
before
rapidamente
facing
um caso
passing the
recente,
floor,
foi
this
em mês de
this
novembro,
recent
que
situation
foi o KFC
in November, the
juntando todas
KFC
essas tecnologias
gathering
lá em
or
Xangai,
assembling all these
demonstrando
technology in
food
Shanghai,
trucks
in
que
China.
são
He
veículos
launched food
autônomos e
trucks that are
conectados. Você
autonomous
pode ir
and
lá pegar a
connected
refeição, o seu
vehicles. You can
sanduíche,
acquire the
as
sandwich
suas comidinhas,
or any
através
food
de
that is
redes de
being served
pagamento digitais,
through
e
digital
evidentemente que
paying
ali tem uma combinação
ways.
de
And
todas
there is the
essas
combination
tecnologias
of all
juntas.
technology that are all
Partindo para esse
integrated.
exemplo,
So
que já é
giving
uma
this
realidade
example that is
pensando no nosso
reality,
continente.
thinking
E cada
about
um
the
tem que
Chinese
vir
marketplace,
conosco
how
com as
can you
empresas
contribute
que vocês
from
representam para
your
trazer
companies
experiências
this
que eles chamam
model
de
of
reais
experience
ou
that are
então uma
real
prospecção que a gente
or
imagina que
a
daqui a pouco a
prospection
humanidade vai viver.
or
Eu
being
vou
or
começar
think
então
about
falando
the
de
near
food.
future? I'll start with Citrine.
Dani, acho que esses três
Well,
pontos que você colocou aí
these
são
three
basicamente os
issues
três
that
pilares do
tackle
nosso
are
cenário de tecnologia. Na
the
Samsung,
three
a gente
pillars.
olha o
At
5G, a
Samsung, we
gente
see
olha a nossa inteligência
5G,
artificial e a
we
gente olha o
see
IoT como grandes
IoT and
revoluções
AI.
em termos de evolução
In terms
tecnológica.
of
5G vai
technology
trazer elementos
evolution,
que todo mundo
5G
entende na
will
comunicação,
bring
todo mundo entende
what
na
everyone understands as
então,
speed in
a tecnologia é só isso,
connectivity.
né? Então,
But
natural
it's
que
not
todo mundo
only
entenda
that, that's
o tempo
majority of
todo.
the
E aí
people
qual é a
understand
vantagem? São
that.
conexões super
But
rápidas. Mas não é
the
só isso.
super
É a
fast
beleza, a
connections, but it's
maravilha de você
not
estar
only
dentro
that,
de uma
the
residência
wonderfulness of
tranquilo, a
it is
complexidade
low
de você
latency or
poder
minimum
conectar, ou
latency.
seja, a
The
simplicidade
reliability
e
on the
efficiência
net
com licença,
is fast
né?
and
Então você
it's
tem a oportunidade
seamlessly.
de ter novos
So you
serviços
have
que
the
vão depender
opportunity of providing new
de simplicidade
services
dessa
with
prática
super
e
high
alavancando o
reliability and low
número
latency, and
infinito
the
de
number
devices
of
que vão ser
devices
integrados nessa simplicidade
extremely big, a
até
big
1 milhão
number
de
of
pessoas
devices, up to
conectadas. Uma
1 million
conectividade
devices
tal que você falou,
that
da
are
sua casa
connected.
hoje vai
So
poder
your
estar
home
totalmente conectado.
will
Se você
be
liga
fully
uma TV
connected.
para
If
30 da
you
sua casa, 15,
see,
20 30,
if you
50,
have
já vai ter uma
30
qualidade muito maior
devices
de vida.
connected in your
O
home,
5G
there
também vai
is
possibilitar
an
você poder
increase in
ter um sensor
quality.
na sua
You will
porta,
have
um
a
sensor que vai
sensor in
monitorar
the
a
door
temperatura,
and
a
the
umidade,
window
tudo
cameras,
conectado, tudo integrado
humidity
de uma maneira
sensors
que vai
integrated and
garantir que você
connected that
conserta
in
uma
your
TV, né?
smartphone you
Seja
have
possível
an
você
alert, a
pagar uma
warning
TV e a sua
to
casa vai começar a
and
entender
will
para
take
você
place
a
in the
cada vez
home
que
will
você está
inform you what's
conectado com a
taking
rede.
place. You
É
may
uma
be at the other
facilidade
side of the
para a sua
world
casa, né?
connected to
E aí
your
eu
home that
aproveito
is
também
a
para
smart
falar um
home,
pouco dos nossos
and
clientes.
you
A gente está
will
falando de
change
um
the way we
cenário
live,
diferente
will be
que a gente
different
tem,
from what
né?
we have now.
Só um parênteses, né?
So
Quando a gente começou a
having
falar de
a
4G,
stop
aí
here,
todo mundo
when we
ficou meio assim,
started
pô,
to
o
talk
5G tá chegando, aí,
about
pô, sei lá, quando
4G, like make a
a gente tá começando a falar de 4G,
parallel
não existia
with
mais
what's
4G.
happening
Então a gente fala de
now.
4G
So we talked about 4G without having a smartphone. No one predicted what will take place, what the smartphone would become in 10 years' time. So we think, what would come in 10 years' time? Will it be more integrated? So all this evolution and the success cases in technology that will show to us what will be successful. We have a lot of contact with our headquarters. There was augmented reality being tackled, very crazy and impacting things. But the Winter Olympics in 2018 was broadcasted and enjoyed by people with 5G. We have all the domes with screens, with all the broadcasting of the information and the media. And in the arenas, there was an amount of cameras that the viewer could choose which one to watch, because it would turn on the camera that was on the helmet of somebody, or the athlete or the operator, and you were using this technology 5G in a major event. Not the Winter Olympic Games are not so famous in Brazil, but
Bacana,
worldwide they
então
are.
vou deixar o
That
caso
was
aqui
really
dos
a
modelos
case and
híbridos,
a
né?
use
Eu fico
experience that
curioso
took
bastante
place.
com essa
I
pesquisa que
wonder
vocês têm
what would
desenvolvido, né? Quem
be
sabe
in
ano que vem a
Tokyo.
gente vai ter a oportunidade
Maybe
de conhecer
next
essas novas
year, or
experiências
for
aí.
sure next
Bem,
year,
deixa eu
we'll
passar a
get
palavra
to
aqui para o
know.
João Ribeiro,
I'll
engenheiro da
pass the
Honda,
floor
que
to
nos pode
João
contar um pouco
Ribeiro
das
from
experiências
Honda that
da
will tell
Honda
us
em relação
about Honda's
esse novo
experiences
mundo.
in terms of this new
Legal,
world.
obrigado, Dani. É mundo realmente de tecnologias, né, que está mudando.
It's a world
A
of
indústria automotiva,
technology
e a
that
indústria
is
automotiva
changing,
tá bem na
and
frente
the
nesse ponto.
automobile
Então,
industry
primeiro, eu
is
acho
deep
que antes da
down
gente
in
entrar
it.
no detalhe
So
da Honda em si,
before
a gente
talking
olhar para
about
o
Honda
mundo
in
todo
itself, if
do
we
mercado automotivo, a gente tem muita
look
coisa
into
acontecendo
the
no mundo.
world, many things
Você
are
deve ter
taking
visto
place in the
a
automotive
gente tem a
world
inteligência artificial
industry.
já presente
AI
já
is present
direção
already.
autônoma, já dirigindo carros,
Autonomous
motoristas
cars.
já
Th-
sugerindo
there is this
rotas diferentes,
suggestion
já
of
já
new
rapidamente chegando, mas
routes,
que
and it is
certamente
a
impacta a nossa
consolidated
vida no
market,
dia a
but
dia.
there is a long
E
way
dentre
ahead
os carros
still.
conectados, né, então
There
hoje em dia
are the
ele
connected
já está
cars
integrando,
where
né,
the car
a
is
rotina, né,
integrated with the
das
routine
pessoas,
of
ele já se comunica, já tem
people.
interfaces, então
There is
isso tudo tem
communication, there are
crescido a ponto de
interfaces
não ter
that
mais
enable
um device, né, realmente
communication. It
tem um
becomes
celular, tem uma
one
televisão,
more
o carro
device. There
também
are
é praticamente
computers, and
um
the car
novo
is more or
device.
less a
E
new
além disso, já
device
está
nowadays. There
já
are
utilizando nuvem, já usando
technologies
inteligência
using the
para melhorar
cloud
toda a
to
produção, toda a
improve
visão
the
do carro,
experience
né? Já
of the
pensando em
client in the
automação,
car,
os
thinking
aspectos,
about
mas
new
também teve
models in
essa
many ways.
questão
But there are 2 points that I want to highlight.
vamos chamar assim,
Even the
além
city or the
da parte
traffic
conectada,
are
né? E aí
going to
entra uma
this
coisa que você disse,
connected world, and
imagina
5G is
todos os carros,
important
né?
here.
Podendo
Imagine all the
conectados,
cars
podendo trocar
being
informações,
connected,
conversar
exchanging
com carros autônomos, né? Então esse
information
acho que é o
with
panorama que a gente está
autonomous
vendo aí
car. So this
das
is the
tecnologias
background
e a
that
gente
we
espera
see for the
mudanças
future,
grátis
and
em todo o
technology
processo.
provides
Então,
all
eu
of
queria
this.
destacar aqui, né,
Also, I
nessa
would like
experiência
to
que você comentou,
highlight,
a Honda
seeing
se
everything as
posiciona
a
de uma
whole,
forma muito
Honda
interessante.
positions
Se a gente olhar
itself in a very
a Honda como
interesting
montadora,
way.
por exemplo,
If we think
de
Honda as
naves,
an
de motos,
assembler
de aviões, né,
of
muita gente sabe,
cars,
mas a Honda é assembladora
planes that
de
many,
aviões,
not so many people
motorhomes,
know,
motos, mas enfim,
motorhome,
montadora,
generators, as
a
an
gente vê que a
assembling
visão para
industry,
2030, né, a visão
what
global da
its
Honda é
vision
de
for 2030
ajudar e melhorar a vida
is
das
to
pessoas
help
como um
and
todo,
improve
permitindo uma
the lives
mobilidade,
of
né?
people,
Então,
enabling
obviamente, os montadores de
mobility.
carro, moto,
Will
avião
be
vão seguir
also
evoluindo
will be
de uma forma
producing cars,
substancial
planes,
para
etc., but
melhorar a
in
mobilidade
a
das pessoas,
way
para
to
esse é o grande
improve
foco
mobility.
e
That's
convergência para
the
o futuro, né?
focus
E aí eu queria
for the
trazer
future.
alguns
Also, would
exemplos aqui
like
também,
to
né?
bring
Não sei se
some
recentemente, ano
examples.
passado, a gente
Recently, like
viu,
last
né,
year, there was a
um Honda
case
E,
in
esse
Europe, a
carro ele é
Honda
elétrico,
E.
né? E é
It is an
conectado.
electric
E se você
car,
olhar no carro,
connected as
todas
well.
as pessoas
If we
podem viajar,
look
você
at the
tem,
car,
igual eu falei, é praticamente
it's
um grande celular, né? Um grande
it's
device.
a big device, you
E a
can say.
inteligência
and the experience in driving changes strongly. If it can be controlled from far. You can use your smartphone. This is reality. In this car, won the best car of the year in Germany. It's the first time in the German marketplace, showing all these changes taking place. Another interesting case is that Honda was able to acquire a certification of driving automation. It is approved, certified, and forecast for the near future to have a car that is self-driving. What we are seeing is that this level of automation will make the car drive by itself, and how the client or the owner or the user will interact with the car. I think that I would like to highlight that Honda is thinking about mobility solutions in robotics, how to improve the daily lives of people. We have Osmo and other examples of it all.
Very good, João. We'll think, what are we going to do? We can think in several different things. I think it's very good. So I'll pass the floor now to Lira to tell us about IBM and artificial intelligence. So I will go on with what Citrino and João already spoke about it. With the advance of technologies, it has a direct impact in the habits of people, the consumers, and also the strategies of companies. What you mentioned about KFC, it brings us, we embrace technology in a different way for a company, in a food company. As you mentioned before, technology will have the main role in the business of companies of several different industries. Is not an exclusivity of big technology companies like IBM. And the phenomenon that we can observe, that these technologies is growing so fast, everybody is searching and trying to develop platform business, that they have a set of OTT platforms, leaving the traditional players, telephone technology, sports companies, they are developing new businesses, and this takes us to a convergence between the physical and digital, what we call the phygital. And in this line, I have a wonderful experience that IBM took part in a project, a huge auditorium, a huge stadium, the Atlanta Stadium, how we could connect and we could offer a different experience, completely different from the former experience they used to have in the stadium. So several businesses were disconnected, and now they are all connected. From the physical to the digital, they are offering help to the persons. They can park their car. They will guide the person until their seats. They will tell him where they can buy food or beverage, and they can offer phone options. They will offer better search engines, and we can do a match what the person desires, what the person wishes, and offer him and address his needs, her needs. So this is a wonderful experience. And this exercise, this convergence, this is artificial intelligence with data to generating new revenue sources. So we want to improve costs, traditional improvements, and industries came looking for in the last few years, but now we don't have any boundaries anymore. The sky is the limit. So for the next few years, I believe we are going to really explore wonderful things. I think this experience of the stadium, as you mentioned, this will open a giant window of opportunities, new currencies, and a new experience for consumers in this seamless environment. And you will not notice what is happening. This physical, digital is wonderful word. I really liked it. So now I will leave. Now I will pass the floor again to André Veloso. This is wonderful what they mentioned. So the whole convergence of things that the things that we are living, we never imagined that we would live what we are living, currently living now. And I hope the economy will recover itself very fast because we have a super growth in the whole world. I would like to emphasize an issue. When we were born and we grew, and we had the technology monetizing applications. They have apps, users, devices, operational system, carrier, Wi-Fi, storage, and processing. All these steps, all these layers are different companies and have a specific agreements, SLA, support, services. But this whole frame that we are born and grew, we were monetizing applications, devices, operational system, carrier, and storage. We sell all these steps, but applications, they do only one thing in two ways. They look the world, they capture information, and this become data. So, and this, they create silos. When you think about all these kinds of definition, we can see that this is a digital transformation is the quantity of energy that is spent to transform information in data and data back to information. If you spend too much energy, you have a low margin, but this migration that we are going to live now, this is incredible because this will be new applications, and these applications, they are completely different from the former applications. What they do is they combine and they exchange. The only way to extract data from a database to be useful for the new consumer is to have the possibility to combine and exchange data. We can imagine applications that will combine and they will break silos. They will use the intelligence to break silos. And they will look for the best matches. And when they exchange this, the applications will negotiate among themselves. I have CRM, I have 30,000 users that can buy an SUV now. They just paid their leasing and they are apt to buy a new one now. So, and the world is completely different now. Usually we focus on the data value. We believe that data has value, monetary value, but the cases that we have in this area, before incorporating company, we had more than hundreds of defense, telecommunications, and we had a project in a clearing house, a very large one, we could precify, we had a standard value, a basic value for this. This was a very interesting experience. As a consumer, you can imagine that your data has value. They have value. Value and meaning. We can address because we are human beings, and we can understand value and meaning because we know we are going to die. So they can have value and meaning because I know I'm going to die. A machine cannot address value and meaning. So this digital partnership will be fundamental because the machine will help us to understand what has value and what has meaning, value and meaning. That's why I think that this is a fantastic idea. Oh, this is amazing to really listen to what you have to tell us about value and meaning. This start to, for me, it starts it gives me, this is a deep thinking. We are human beings. We have to understand this transformation, integration like living, integration between people and machine, machine and machine, a machine negotiate with another machine. At first, I'm a little bit scared, but I like it. I think I will think the whole week about what you just said. So now we are going to a second moment now. And the question that you said, you spoke about maybe if we can understand that fragmentation, data fragmentation, we spoke about data value, each person with their values and the value of their data. João Lira, and they spoke about experience, the passage from one application to another seamlessly. Do you believe that there is a fragmentation of devices, data, connections, and this could be a bridge to exponentially the media, because we have to think that we have several different screens, access channels, way of payment, management, data management, and a transformation of business models. So in order to bring all this to our media and entertainment industry, how can you contribute? I'll have a round table now. So Lira, first, please. What do you think? Wow, this is a difficult question, right? But I don't have any doubt that what we expect and what we hope will happen, and it's already happening, is the fragmentation that you mentioned. Because when we look for the world and we look at the world and we see the data-driven or value-driven world, the foundation of the whole structure is we have to have three key elements. One pillar where you eliminate the data silos, as André mentioned. What do I mean? Data are not respecting how the companies are organized. Marketing, sales, finances. The consumer is not interested in the organization of companies. So you have a main goal, a final goal to the participants. It's a goal-oriented public or audience. And the second issue is that inside organization, you have to treat with two worlds: the operational world that exists, it's real, and the data world, because they treat the data according to their life cycle. The moment where you capture data, how do I organize data, How do I enrich the data considering their lineage? And how can I organize to offer insights and digital transformation? So you have advanced analytics and to have inclusion of products and services inside organizations and companies. And I mentioned that nowadays you can observe companies that they were not traditionally players in the entertainment and media segment, and they are now being part of this segment. For example, esports company, they are doing broadcasting, content broadcasting, because this movement for the platform business, it has a movement that is from the outside inside with new consumer habits, new desires, and you have the outside world. And this inside out resides in on data, incumbent data. If I am a very new company, what my incumbents? I have to explore alternate ways. So for those who already exist and for those who have data, data are very important. For example, data of a telephone company, they are extremely important for media. Data from a broadcast operator, they're extremely important for platform business. So the better ability or a lower, the best ability to do this will multiply this many times. And we see these movements, they are already happening. And we believe that they are very aggressive movements. You can see Disney is getting into platform business, but this is an embryo right now. They they are trying. They didn't even start yet. They are illustrating the market potential. So we are going to live a hyper-personalization experience. People will search for media and content with artificial intelligence. So the search experience now is not good. It's good to dialogue with your experience. So to improve the match between who wants to search and who wants to deliver, have the capacity to deliver. Wonderful, Lira. Wonderful, your vision. Citrine, how can you add, please? Speaking about fragmentation and at the same time, this exponentialization of the media and entertainment industry. So one of the very interesting sentence was, this is an embryo. Yes, we have a capacity to grow. If you mention a number today, it's very hard to imagine a number of growth right now. If you look back in history, you can see a printed newspaper. The TV journal started at 8 p.m. Now it starts at 8:30 p.m. with advertising breaks, 30-second advertising breaks, or a 15-second break or a 1-minute break. And you offer this for who is in front of TV, rich, poor, adults, children. They didn't have the capacity to know who is in front of the TV. But digital service, you are logged in. So you can accumulate data. How people are feeling, what do they want to buy, what kind of feeling they are really feeling. I mean, you have so many data on people. So the challenge is, how can I deliver this to someone who wants to sell? So the screen technology will have more screens. You have smartphone with foldable screens, and this will be a presence how in our lives. So how can we deliver this? We were talking that will be a connected car. Probably I'm in a traffic jam, and my connected car can send me information about a traffic jam, what are the road conditions. I already have apps that tell me that. And that car in front of me can also offer me products, and they can understand if I want to buy anything. Probably they are connected to some sensors in my wearables, and they can perceive that you are hungry, or you are sick. So this capacity of data collection will be huge. So how can we be able to collect data and deliver this as an entertainment or solutions or as sales? And this is the challenge. We have a huge quantity of data. How can I use the useful data for me? They don't have to offer me food when I'm sleeping, or maybe they are not going to offer me something while I am in traffic jam, because there's something that I will need at home. So this will be the really super idea. So I think KFC cars will go. If they had apples inside, they will be very interesting to me. So João, please tell us about Honda.
We have talked about the cars, and so taking the opportunity, all about fragmentation. Something came to my mind about Ford when he started manufacturing. You can choose any car, any color of the car, as long as it's black. It's about that. So the, these customizations, not on the color of the car, because the client, the user can choose anything. Now, uh, everything goes beyond the physical world. It, as it said, the merging of the worlds. So what we see is that car becomes one more device that in fact it's nice to be connected the whole day in the car. That was an offline experience, becomes connected and becomes one more device, and opens for these all these opportunities. That what's nice to think about it, although it's fragmented, it's broken, one more system, one more data collection, but we can see the whole, not the part. It's good to think that with cell phones, smartphones, watches, and with the car, the way you interact with the other vehicles will be part. It is very interesting. This will change the mobility in the world in a very broad way. If I don't need to drive and I am connected, what will the car be used for? So it's one more very interesting channel for media. So you was said the case of Honda E is a screen. It's almost a TV screen. So as media carriers or producers, we can explore it. It's one more device to be explored. And well, and about marketing is always zone to perceive the client, where the client's going, to communicate in an efficient way. And the car as well is being part of this process. It's is in all aspects, always on, in all moments of the day, in all processes. So in fact, there is this fragmentation is part of that. So we see the vision of the whole to generate information, data, and bring new business and new opportunities. There are examples of services. I offer the service through the car. I warn the client that is the time for overhaul or maintenance or whatever, that in fact, at the same time, there is the breaking up, but there is also the consolidation and brings value. Well, that's true, the always on, and to have this, they have the subtlety of apps and services that will be seen, will be having it, and surely enough, hyper connected. And Andrea, what do you say about fragmentation and this super exponential way of new ways of consumption, new data? Well, we have to put all of this in our minds as a challenge. We have to think, meditate. There are two spaces: is the absolute space, which is the mathematical. There are dots in the space, and you measure in the absolute space. And another way to see space is a relational space, two different mathematics. In relational space, one thing exists related to another. I am here because there is the PC, the window, the chair. It changes my way of measuring the world. I once worked with a major bank, and the CTO took me to the data bank and showed me all the database, different data, different formats. And and I said, well, you only have two kinds of data. You have a conversation or chat and transaction. If I can see all conversations and all transactions, I can tell you how the value of each conversation. And we understood that all this fragmentation, the way of looking into this world of that will be generated, it's very highly important to understand that there is no data out of a relationship. Example, I am talking to you. What makes me be here? Two data sets. The first is my DNA. If I didn't have my DNA, I wouldn't be here. I would be dead, or I wouldn't have been born. And my birth certificate. If I hadn't been born, I wouldn't be Brazilian or André. I could be a member of a native tribe, but being André ensures that I'm here. Well, thinking about my marriage, this data, but this data belongs to whom? Me and my wife. If there was no marriage, there was no data. If she didn't exist, there was no marriage. So thinking about technology, there is this bias that we are the data custodian. For us, from hosting is being a custodian, is custody. Those that do the host has the custody. What I believe that will take place with fragmentation, we will have to learn to separate, to break apart the custody and the host. And each relationship will be an agreement. My relationship with my car, my smartphone, my home with my car, or the electric power grid that I use. So it's what I said, it starts in the user and ends up in a faraway processing system that will enable that the data brings value and move or traffic among all these interrelationships. Perfect, Andrea. You mentioned something some time ago when we were talking that we, due to this relationship, as we being a data, ensure a minimum income for the future. If we own my own data, I am assured in terms of income for the future. I have something to tell you. It's been a great chat, but I haven't even see the time go by. But I have this producer that is warning me that time has come. So I invite you to stay here, part of the three following panels, amazing people. And I request you, the guests, to do the final observation. If you have a recommendation, a suggestion for our media and entertainment industry. I'll start with André. What I see is that some for the recent 10 years, we are a medium person. I post, you post, the other read. We are a walking media. What next step will become data persons. And that's the greatest opportunity for media restructure. People will become data persons like we are media persons now. And this will be the next step, and this will come fast. This will come faster. Perfect, André. João, how do you close your participation? Well, it's hard. I was thinking, wondering, all our colleagues have said, lots of interesting things. Well, I think what we have seen up to now is very short or small compared to what's to come. It's hard to imagine if there was no smartphone 10 years ago. Imagine about the cars. So it's hard to think how would we be, but giving a suggestion, there is a fantastic, amazing potential with the existing technologies for the client that use the car as a transportation means, but there is this potentiality, and this is part and is becoming a new device for media. And how to explore it, there are many ways, but it's very cool for the industry to offer interactive content, cool content that bring the client to interact more and more. And also I'd like to thank you for being part of it. It was very rich. Citrine, that we see about the smartphones as the major tool, adding functionalities of different devices. We have digital cameras or watches. We don't have that bedside clock anymore. So at the same time, we have an environment, putting the miniature in the sensors. We can have the smartwatch collecting lots of information when you walk, or your heartbeat, and imagine how much data is being generated about myself. So thinking about it, the availability of so much information with so much precision to be delivered by that for that specific person. So to have this ultra personalization, time and space for the person. I enjoy the Formula One races, but not always I can watch it. And this is fit for everything. The company that can deliver it more precisely for the client will say the company got it right. And you become a partner because you love the company indeed. I think that's the way forward. And Lira, I will give you only 1 minute, but I'd like you to close our amazing chat. Cool. It's a pleasure to be here. It's interesting to see that we always wanted to talk to the machines, the Jetsons, cartoons, and now that we are able to do it, we are scared. This will become something ordinary in the future. And the cool is that the technology that is coming is that at the same time, provide this explosion of data, but will give voice to everyone. Will know in your home TV about the football play, all about the universe, is the t-shirt, the jerseys, the ball. So in terms of entertainment, will become a media and lifestyle by entertaining. It will go beyond the borders. If I would have to have an advice, I would have to open our mindset and educate ourselves with what's coming as new. It's very nice to live in this times. My daughters think it's very normal, but I think it's a little bit strange. So we are the ones that have to build the future good for everyone and all. Well, with the exception of João, we were the last generation that lived the analog digital world. So that's why I have this affection. I want to deeply thank you. It's an honor to have you at Set Live. I will say farewell to all of you. Thank you. And I'll pass the floor to Olivia that will close this panel. So we'll start the second with Wagner Cojo. Thank you, Dani, and our guest. It's interesting to see this reality, and now will stay with us. There's lots coming.
Embratel, vamos criar juntos o próximo nível.
Uma viagem pelos mares, pelos campos, pelos palcos, pelas cozinhas, pela história. Todo esse conteúdo junto pra você. O Globoplay evoluiu. Agora tem tudo que o Globoplay tem, mais os melhores canais da TV por assinatura ao vivo. É programa e play que não acabam mais. Assine o Globoplay, mais canais ao vivo.
Estamos de volta ao mundo
We're back at the hyper-connected world at Set eXPerience Live and participate in our chat. Your comments are very important to us. In this following panel, there is this question: how is the hyper-connected future, and what are the outstanding differences in business, culture, and models worldwide? In driving, fostering new models which are part of our daily lives, but how culture can influence this hyper-connected world. Well, that's exactly that. We choose very carefully the persons, our guests. We have Abel Hayes. He's a founding partner of Logo Ventures, has this worldwide experience in terms of Japan and North America. Also, we have Win Xie, which is a co-founder of China Innovation, and José de Genova, who is the the manager of this group. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invite. Good afternoon, everyone. Would like to bring the discussion about the global vision in terms of cultural differences, and therefore this brings differences in business models. So we want to understand, in your point of view, how this process takes place in the world, and which are the outstanding, the striking and remarkable differences. Tabula was born in Israel, so spread world in the world has this understanding about Europe. Also, Abel's point of view regarding Japan and Asia, and Ishii in terms of Asia and China. So, things being said, so it's not to talk about Asia, it's not possible. We have to take into account all the differences of in the world in terms of culture, but taking technology, in your point of view, especially Asia and China, does it represent a trip to the future now? And which are the cultural differences in the structure and models of business, as well as the opportunities in the short term for Brazil if we mirror the differences? We'll start with Nishi and start with the vision of the others.
Friends here, Abel, and everybody, I would like to mention that depending on the area, you have something, we speak about the larger categories, and you have a difference of 5 years or more. And if we think about development of technology, speaking about the adopting technology by the users. So adopting mobiles, and this year we have the great quantity of 5G in some Chinese cities. We have a large presence there. And speaking about culture, Asia as a whole, they have a very different culture. I was born in Brazil, but I grew in this family. I feel this. And there are some aspects I would like to emphasize. The first one would be what we call the collectivism. They think in groups, they think about family before thinking about the individual. This results is the direct result of many of the products and policies and existential issues, but they have a cultural foundation, that they are the foundation of this whole kind of thinking, way of thinking. In these last few years, the transformation of X systems, and you have in the 90s, the great Korean and Japanese groups, and these are models that in the West, we have a little bit of difficulty to conceive, because these Eastern groups, they are so different that it's like they are losing the focus. But this is the collectiveness. They think about this. I would like to believe this will be my beginning issue, my start, that the analysts that follow up closely how the countries are facing the pandemics. This is a very interesting vision. We really mentioned that to when China was closed, and this accelerates the transition processes in a very different way. The Eastern world has a different model, and we can go back, but I'm sorry, I mentioned Western world, not Eastern world. So Abel, could you please add your ideas? My vision is that when you thought about how will be the future or the present or the Asian markets, especially China, will be the future we desire in terms of digital economy. I think there are aspects, yes, without any doubt, the digital economy has an acceleration, a dynamism, and it's very vigorous. We have to remember that the digital economy in China in 2019 was around $5 trillion. And this, in terms of business, this is an extraordinary number. This is the digital part of the Chinese economy. So this is a very enviable vigor. And we have to think also that we have a consumer base. We have to think of a huge consumer base and a players base, a local player base. They are global, but they are local. They are national, let's say. They are based in China. And this is, it's something that we envy. And I hope that the public policies, Brazilian public policies, and the private economy in Brazil will drive this transformation. And we have to think as well about economy, digital players, and the Chinese government policies. They are a geopolitical tool, and they are not different from the US, because the economy theme is a geopolitical theme. And in this sense, there are aspects of decisions and the states conduction, how they can lead these. It will be our desirable future to Brazil. Very interesting, your vision about this regulating issues. So, and Geneva, can you add something? I agree with Hayes and any vision. I had the opportunity to work with the Chinese market, and something was very evident for me, that when we spoke about Asia and China, we can look at Asia as a referential point, and they are years ahead of Latin America. And you can look and understand and absorb, and culturally, but they are completely different. We have some areas that we are closer to them, and some areas that we are completely different from them. For example, we have the super apps. We have Line in Japan, Flipkart in India, and other ways, apps that they aggregate several business models in one player only, and they work with the market. And this is different from what we see. And there is a big difference from the Brazilian culture. The Brazilians, they have the Western experience. They are closer to the US to maintain a surplus in the area, and to have also how we performed digital inclusion. For example, how the Asian countries, they became digital. They started in the smartphone usually. And the Western model, like the US, which is a reference for Brazil, the connectivity came through desktops. When you think about desktops, you have the one program and one task. But when you speak about business models, for example, in Baidu, we had the purpose to do something using a one platform only. And the China, this is very strong. And we had an agreement, but this at the end didn't work. And even regulation, when you have the concentration of business models in different services, you capture different data. And this includes uh, uh, these issues, like it's difficult to absorb in the Western culture, and also the culture of loyalty. The Brazilian customer is not as loyal as the Asian customer, let's say. For example, if I have a smartphone, I have two different apps to call a cab, or two different apps to order food. But when you look at Asia and we understand the cultural differences, I defend the hybrid model. It's good to absorb the best practices and work in a short term to develop our own model. This is what I think about the theme. This is wonderful. Thank you for your thinking and your comments. So we have a context now. We have, speaking about Americas in general, we have a context, a very strong context about the business model and linked to monetization, advertising, digital business models based in advertising. And we are testing different issues like if the enrollment kind of, or signature programs. And we have to think about this, the communication and media bursts. We have this model, and they are running for the digital revenue beyond advertising. How advertising, in your vision, can generate value for the consumer, considering this context? Who wants to begin? Genova, please. Recently, we've seen an effort to change, not only to defend exclusively advertising as a revenue source, but also the reality we live today. And advertising has to improve the ways we interact. The digital revolution is focused in user experience. How is the value you can generate for the user at the end of the day? And advertising has a very important role in this business models development. Many digital models, they came to exist without advertising, but we try to effort yourself, for example, to enroll yourself in a program or to sign, and you for example, you have to inscribe yourself to have an inscription in a service. You have to see the context, how you can insert a business model. Advertising has to be very careful how they are going to take part in these business models, how they have conversion flows, user flows, and how advertising can generate value in this context. To understand the context through the different media, they have to use insights, data, and they have to generate value for the user. Have to understand the user journey. What is the user mindset? What is the, is he focused? Is he concentrated? Is he interested in something? We have to understand this, and advertising has to bring some value for the user. And another issue is to think about brand safety and brand suitability. What's the advertisement? What's the placement of? Is this impacting the user? This makes sense. Where is it in the context? It generates some value. And last, advertising by advertising is a very, we have to rethink about advertising. We have to think about the whole scenario. For example, how can we work? Because we believe that we can work with the user journey, the user experience. We have to offer the user a connection with the product, a value, and we have to work to advertisement as a sales content. You have to add something. You have to add some value for the user. Advertising has a very important role, but it's very important to rethink and to understand how it's inserted in this service to go on generating value. Abel, what's your vision? I think that, or I believe that advertising language in the digital experience, it is going to improve. And what we are going to experience in the next few years is to have a advertising consented model, because the interruption model is what it's our legacy, that we had the mass media model, and now we have individual media. The media is individualized. When you think about LGPD, we have to think about what we think that is our paradigm and model of advertising, of a consented advertising. And we can think about new formats, alternate formats. Maybe, as Genova mentioned, we can think about media not only as a message, but as an experience. Branded content is a native case. It's a case that we have to attempt to create experience from a advertising message. I believe that we can grow, and we have to use this experience also for the health of digital economy, and also to have freedom of to opt or to choose. And advertising, we have to win this new model. And I would add a very interesting aspect, that for some time we thought about advertising ended, and you have to pay the bill for the consumer bill, and this finished, and you have to grow for a new, that people will pay to access content. Probably we will have this, and we have some services, local services of information content. And I will tell you, for example, paywall, that many publishers, they were hoping that worked, and we can see now that we we are a little bit skeptic about paywall. Consumer will not subscribe for different services. Probably they will have one or two subscriptions for, so we have to bring advertising to offer a diversity of products for the consumer, assuming that he will subscribe for one or two. And speaking about the diversity and democratization of services and everything, we have to think, and publicity will evolve probably in this direction with a consent model.
Okay, perfectly, totally. You brought a very interesting context. And Ian, what's your take about this all? My background is retail and electronic marketplace. So think about it, due to our platforms getting near and near in terms of transaction, and as Jean-Luc mentioned, all the platforms are near. In Brazil, the digital payment modes being available will facilitate the process. What was in the past, the payment means was hinder the transaction. Now it's part of our experience, not only for the user, but the business model in itself of the vehicle or the media, the with accessing up to the end of the transaction. We see this in China, like TikTok in China is a video network, but it also has the platform of sales. So it gets combined. Another aspect, as you said in the beginning, about other models, besides what we have in terms of publicity that in fact makes it popular. As Abel mentioned, it's very important. We have the capacity to subscribe one or two. We won't subscribe similar products. Well, that's why there is this war among like these providers, and this I see in my the bill that comes every month. As we mentioned, we have this issue of digital books that it's possible to read for free some chapter, but then you have to pay for the rest, or you can receive awards or give awards. What we thought in the past, watching the concert of an artist, you have to have to buy a ticket, and there's something that must be tangible, like 100 reais in terms of a virtual product. You bring emotion and other factors within it all. So in the end of the day, there are possible models. And our model in the Western world, like our online media is selling, printed media or broadcasted media, it was natural to think about the existing model, because there is this need to have synergy using the sales team to sell the ads, the publicity. You don't want to create disruption with your advertising client. So there's a lot of this present, but with the increase of the mobile range, things will come. And with the expansion of the social networks and Asian media will bring this about. So summarizing is this situation is linked to the hybrid situation, how we provide the adaptation. So this is very important to think about it. Our next question within this topic, it's clear that the digital world in general has understood the power of the platforms and how they are changing the business chains, creating disruption and breaking apart uh, many things. How do you see this? Do companies have to position itself and understand the platform context and reassess how the connections are generated? Is it important for media and entertainment industry? Start with Abel. Let's say then, first of all, the principles of the economy or the economy about platforms, I see as very challenging for different industries. At the same time, it is a major opportunity to create value in terms of gains. When we're talking about platforms, we can call the media tech players. They're the mainstream, like Facebook, first of all. Undoubtedly, many of the impacts that came through and provided the societies and the economy are extremely positive. I wonder, I ask myself about how can we take the negative impact and mitigate, how we can take the positive ones and mitigate the negative ones. And there are the negative impacts in terms of the manipulation of the opinion, of public opinion, bubbles that are created. And I think there is this issue of inhibition of innovation due to the extreme concentration of power by the media tech players. And I think is important for the future of digital economies and for the markets where there are the global major tech players. Mainstream presence is this disassembling of conglomerates in favor of innovation and economic vitality and health, and mitigate the negative aspects of these global media tech players. You also mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, about the communication groups of the big telecom players should behave exactly. At some point, and talk about Brazilian case, at some point, there was this thing that the future of the communication group in Brazil would go after the losses to mimic the features and the business model of these major media tech players. And I think this is wrong because these major Brazilian major telecom groups should respect the mission of excellence that is natural, that is to produce qualified and diversified content for Brazilian market. market, not only for themselves to keep royal, keep along in track to their own health, but it's for the Brazilian democracy as well. Like Globo has been doing for the recent years. And is pointing out into this direction. So, as I see, the communication groups should think on how to offer new formats for advertising with with the consent of the user, how to take advantage not only the mainstream media tech players, but those that are in Brazil that can deliver value for the consumer, the advertisers, and all the stakeholders involved. So as I see, summarizing, there is the challenge. What do you do with the negative effect of the media tech players and the local groups have a greater mission, which is to help us, the Brazilian society, the country, to face the future that is of a fully digitalized economy with the education of the generations, and in this world that will be stamped with artificial intelligence. And we also take into account the regulations, religion aspects. Could you tackle this? Brazil knows how to work in a smart way to preserve the interests of the Brazilian society and the Brazilian communication as a whole through some actions. And the broadcasting market is part of this. It's a landmark that is, I think, in the former government was updated at all, but present some feature that could be reviewed if done so in some of its features to give opportunity so that the Brazilian communication groups could become stronger with partners, with their counterparts, their foreign counterparts. Is a way to speed up the contributions of these groups for the brands, for the user, for the consumer. Well, what do you think about all of this? As you know, many other regions in the world. I would like to tackle a point Abel mentioned, the size of these organizations reach, and we have to reassess. And we that work with technology and innovation, when we see companies being born, they are become benchmarks. Well, this morning was talking with some people about a startup which is intermunicipal transportation platform. They are out there on the side of the law. They will grow. We see today as heroes, but then in the future, we'll see that they may hinder all the economy. So we have to start thinking about this, assessing prior to the moment where we cannot do anything. If we think about major companies like Facebook and Google, as it's being now, there is some destruction of values, something that could be avoided in the past. So I'd like to bring up something that Abel mentioned about the DNA, which is interesting. thinking about the company's management, how they are born. So take into account Chinese parameters and other e-commerce companies like Magazine Luiza. They were retailers and became a business platform. So a retailer, it's no more a retailer, it's a marketplace. It's a business model and a shift in the mindset and great effort. But if you have this retailer DNA and in here the DNA of a content producer uh, or content creator, maybe you are in the mid in the middle of the way and destroying value for the company. You have to think about eventually the decision is I will do what I have been always doing, what I have been doing. I'll be a retailer. If so, I'll be the best, the most efficient, instead of becoming a marketplace, which is the trend now. You don't have to have to store anything. You don't have to have inventory. So that's the conflict. This is something that before doing something and think only at the spur of the moment, it's something that is invention and will change in the future. So we have, before doing anything, think about the DNA and the capabilities to perform and to realize the business. And you bring a very super interesting point of view, and comes to my mind the process of ecosystems in the communication of industry and the business models. And there are these new broader business models that encompasses all of this. And as Genova, as you were saying, and we can close this question and have a new set of questions. Well, 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 of course, think about the media side of it. And I agree with Abel that centralization have these harmful effects. And when we think, and he says about fragmentation is very interesting, like Globo is someone that takes over as a major group. So we have to think the system as a whole. When you talk about platforms, like Ian said, everything can become a platform. Even Taboola, as we said, how the changes are part of advertising. Like the change started with supplying advertising for publisher or other things. If you see Taboola as an example, there are services for publishers, for insight supply, everything that is possible to generate, as I said, the way the changes are taking place and generate value through customization, individualization of the consumer. When you migrate for a model like subscription model with a paywall, that is part of my day-to-day, like the big media groups trying to mimic foreign models, and you end up closing all the content that is a huge penetration in the market, like you think Global will and Open TV. It's not possible. You have to understand the market, the consumers, and work with all the concept. It's very important. And the major platforms to give munition for the players to work well. Today, we supply with different experience. The depending on the level of loyalty, it's possible that there'll be subscriptions made, but not in all universes. So you should optimize the publicity in a smart way, as Abel said, to have this role to educate the consumer or the whole industry or the whole society to understand the features of the market and be careful with the strategies. Sometimes we take decisions based on the emotion because everyone is doing the subscription model. So you have to ask yourself, does it make sense in your business model? Like Ian said, is this free model is good? Should it be hybrid? So everything that's done by regulatory framework, therefore, is very important so that the platforms take to themselves this role of trailblazers in being aware to these hues that are part of it. Well, I have this comment, if I may. There are moments in which we cannot wait that the platforms will bring the matureness, innovation. There are moments that only the regulators can perform, like YouTube example that only did the changes in the exposition of content in YouTube for children after having received a fine of $175 million, which is small compared to what they have as a revenue, and something that was obvious for any player that is responsible with the world that is part of, not to use a children's world or attention to deliver some kind of not right advertising. So, thinking about this context, I'd like to create this bridge in terms of economy and digital era. It's sure that technology and the way you deal with it will pave the road for the rest of the process. Technology is a mean to reach the objectives and adapt the economy, but I see there is this risk, take into account Brazil, of the major media players of communication and entertainment. They are becoming very specialized in their technology front to meet the issues of digital economy that are much beyond of the publicity or advertisement model, but to prepare the whole process so the public can have access to what the previous panel showed. This is reality today. In your opinion, the media group should, in fact, or the communication group should reposition their own structures to be part of this economic cycle of the digital era in terms of technology? Should they become more technology companies to meet the demands of the market more and more? What is your opinion in this sense?
So let's start here.
Okay,
Well,
have a very
specifically, we
specific
have
understanding, not only for
we have a
the media
specific
companies,
understanding,
but
not
in
about the
general.
media company, but the transformation or the name we want to do this. We speak about legacy and structures and everything. We have business model, and we also have a difficulty to innovate. And what we think that we can think about a new way to deal with the main structure. It has its own speed, and we can understand because it can take a little bit long because the clients take some time to move here. We have to have a separate structure to do this. They are not limited to new resources and structures of the main company, but you can develop business, hire talents, and have a model of the entrepreneurs. We can be inside the group, and they have freedom because the company can have its own management, its own business model. The leader can be the manager, and we can develop outside of home. In a certain moment, maybe we have some synergy in the future, or maybe we'll be the managers of our own businesses. And this can happen, companies to develop their products. And another issue that I like to mention, innovation is not only technology. Usually we put both things as an only expression. And I will bring an example that is happening in Brazil. Payment methods, we have to stop using credit cards or using QR code. But the first wave of transformation of payment methods, for example, the traditional payment method like and to pay with smartphones. At first, we thought in very expensive solutions. It's hard to disseminate these ways. But when it came to Brazil and to China, you don't need technology, very advanced technology. There is a photograph of some people, street people, paying with this. And so this is a technology that we have to think about it. We can think about different products, different models. It's a simple technology, and this is very accessible to us. We don't have to invest too much money. We have to have the flexibility to test, to use, and I compare this when we have innovation, and innovation is very clean in offices, in beautiful buildings. This is what I call Nutella innovation. But this, because we have to have innovation in the daily lives of the employees. It doesn't need to be sophisticated. It can be a simple plan, but escalate, some plan that we can escalate. It's a scalable plan. That's the idea. Abel, please, what do you have to add? My comment is any investment in technology, digital solutions, they are promoted, but content, media, entertainment, we have to be concentrated in what we have as a core value, the core mission, to deliver content or to deliver rich and quality content, to educate, to give information to people, markets, and to allow them to make decisions. This, I believe, will be the core mission that we have to follow. And the production and investments that can allow the production of a scalable content or customized content, or the automated production of content, maybe the individualization of content and the offer of speedy payments, special products that can be funded by subscriptions or crowdfunding. All these options and these descriptions and these words, what I mean is that there are many opportunities of root innovation that can be created by media and advertising groups. And this is not a sole journey. World is not summarized in Google partnerships, because we have different providers in the market that when you plug them in a strong backbone with a very resourceful backbone that will be built by publishers, this can be a revitalization or reinvention of players. And this is very important. Maybe in the process of renovation or reinvention of these players, maybe we find out that the economical value of the organization is smaller than the one we had before. We cannot imagine right now that we will be in the same digital economy logic and the players with the same format or the same economical power. Things changed, but this doesn't mean they will not be healthier, or maybe they will go on in a journey to grow. And I believe this should be our priority. Yes, Abel, you have a capacity to do a synapse with the next group for the same block, because one of the themes we are dealing with is the automation and the audiovisual, and also you have the presence of Douglas. We had the problem with the sound. We had some noise.
Acho que a chuva chegou lá, hein?
The sound is off now. Well, now, yeah, we lost Kojo. Kojo. We don't have audio now. I'm sorry.
Vocês estão me ouvindo agora?
Yeah, audio is back. Audio is back. Thank you. Audio is back.
Três, dois,
3,
no
2,
ar.
1. Audio is back now. Wonderful. We are back. We have an important transition, speaking about audio and visual content, and we are going to bring very important scenarios. So I will give the floor to Genova for his comments. Kojo, I liked very much a sentence that you mentioned when you started this theme that technology is a means, not an end. When we speak about changes, when we speak how they can reformulate, and we have to change the company mindsets. We have to understand technology as something that is inherent for these platforms. And when you put this technology, when you want to deliver, and for example, you have edutech, agrotech, fintech, media tech, all these tech words, they are reinterpretations of these traditional sectors of the technology angle. And as we mentioned before, technology and innovation. So these parallel issues. And this is, we've really approached this. This is mindset and culture. This is not easy. It's a very, it's a huge system. There are issues that help the solutions. I agree with Abel, not the past is not equal to the future, but we have to understand what does this mean for every company to understand the future. And technology needs to be incorporated in the daily lives of the other companies. We have to end this part of the conference. It's an honor to have you in eXPerience. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for everybody, all your participants, and Wagner Kojo for your presence. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Só vou dar oi pro Douglas.
Hi, Douglas.
Que é do Alex.
Tchau.
Cara, a gente está retornando aqui, Alex. E esse aqui é a pauta do terceiro painel. Começa aqui, ó, com o texto. Eu pensei em apresentá-las, dar o título do painel.
Um minuto.
Entrar no nosso site, onde você tem a programação.
You can access our website about our event and access it, eXPerience Academy, which is the result of recordings with 220 videos, with interviews, presentations with very renowned professionals, and with many topics, cloud, digital radio, 3.0 TV, and a lot of information about technology and business, legislation and education, soundtracks that explore media and entertainment. So check it out. Daniela,
and Kojo are here back to guide the third panel, and our panel is about hyperconnectivity. And the question is, Brazil is doing well, and what can we learn from the world? And we see the diversification in the world, and Brazil is learning how to work with diversity. Danielle and Kojo will talk with professionals that are living this reality. Thank you, Lívia. Hello, once again. It's a pleasure to be here. You saw that the first panel, I did the moderation. The second was done by Kojo. And now we are together with the most feminine panel of all. I think it will be very special with our guests, 2 girls and 1 guy. So we have Teresa Pena, Solutions for Businesses, Products and Services, Digital World Solutions of Global Director. Juliana, which is from Director of Business Solution Services and Products, and Douglas Almeida from State, co-founder of State Films. Thank you for being here, for the invite. Now, we came from this second panel with the discussion of cultural differences, business models in Asia and North American point of view, something about Europe. And you, no doubt, are doing a great work in a very adverse reality in any region. Now I'll pass the floor to my dear friend Kojo, that will do he'll do a brief introduction. We have seen in the previous panel about the cultural differences bring opportunity windows, and we should take this into consideration. And we see in seeing all the discussions, the opportunities. We apologize, but there is no sound coming from the studio.
O Kojo, eu não estou escutando o Kojo.
Então, o Kojo cortou. Quando ele começou a falar, cortou pra gente.
There is no sound coming from the studio. Yes, there is sound. We are live, so, well, those that do good, well, do it live. So, while there is the mics being fixed, well, he was talking about the work that you are performing. Douglas will talk about the creation of platforms, the search for automation, and about what he talked about democratization in digital content. And Teresa, which is in charge of for the platform and the direct relationship with the consumer, which is the strategy by Global. And Guyana talks about the content, which is king and has its value, and it's pivotal. So, keeping this in mind, maybe Kojo can participate. Now, can you hear me? Dani said what we are looking to discuss. As there is change in the content production, we want to listen from those that are doing it very well and how Brazil is deploying it, and you are the best representatives of this sector, and your work is amazing, I know. Dani knows well, and our public wants to hear from you. We start with Teresa. Let's open the door so you can hear me well, right? So I'm talking about this initiative. As you well know, until 2014, the core business was B2E, advertising and subscription. There was no straightforward relationship with the end user, only content. We had and still have the major audience, but we didn't know about it. So the first step to get closer to this audience was in 2015, 2016 with global play creation, because we want to increase the consumption base with big data for content recommendation, and the catalog was only a catch-up from Globe to be consumed when and where wanted. And then to create the robustness of this machine, there was a technological switch with, in case of CRM, we have the most popular one, which is a 4. And we have this solution with Apple was a really turnaround in increase of service catalog, selling all the services of the Play catalog that prior was only sold through the operator, and a lot of investments. We had this catch up on the TV and ended up with a lot of investment and having the biggest catalog in productions by the global studios or from the international studios. And we have in 2017 to 2019 was the branching of the sales force through Apple and Vivo platforms. 2020, which is our current moment, Global Play becomes a entertainment hub, all in one, focusing the end user experience. So the step was to bring the channels from the operators from global side to Global Play. Global Play can be consumed in, like global news can be consumed in Global Play or elsewhere. It becomes a hub. And another action was this partnership with Disney Channel. In Global Play, the user can purchase this Disney combo. It's a strategy which was the creation of Global Play and becoming a hub of entertainment. And when we were talking here, Global Play had a strong adherence because it gathers the best of two worlds, bringing the live channels, which is the program of TV Globo, with VOD program. We have live sports, we have live grid with all contents in VOD, and also all the studios content that are from abroad, foreign studios, in our own studios. Very interesting. It's clear through Teresa's words, it's not only content but the form. In this sense, pass the floor to a fantastic company representative, Juliana. What's your take on this question? As Dani said, global, technology is the ring of the king. The platforms were the queen, and the broadcasting was the king. As Teresa said, Global Play has something differential that is not part in the other OTT. That is, they have the live program. And it's spoken in Portuguese. That is this full experience that is provided. And when we talk about content, we talk about the experience this public, this audience receives the experience in any kind of device. So everything is encompassed, and this becomes more important. And still, the storytelling is the most important thing. Without the story, you don't have anything. In even the journalism, the reality show that has to tell something. So without the story, there's nothing. But there is the technology backing all of this. If you're watching something and it's interrupted, and so sometimes in the past, you turn on the TV set, you had to fight with the antenna when I was a child. Now there is 5G and all the technology embedded. It becomes something that goes through the experience. There is so much content with high excellence, and it's content created by the minute. So the user can change in a fast way. So Teresa takes care of the consumer contact relationship. So we know that there is this, we have to understand how to communicate it, if it's through Twitter or other social media, like MasterChef is a band, YouTube, Facebook, Amazon, different platforms. We are everywhere because this content is the most shared one, because it is part of our strategy of our company. If I don't talk in the Instagram in its own kind of language, the user, the follower will not go ahead. So it's necessary to be part of IGTV. This user, this consumer will leave my content, will go to the other company. So technology is more and more linked to it as language and technology. To formalize the idea, well, great point. Just like to add here something here. It was great what she said, the queen and the ring. So as to put the cherry on the pie is the understanding about Brazil, which is very singular, it's Latin, it's different. It's important to understand this marketplace. I'll give some examples. For instance, when you get to this point, is like Brazil's a country that is a specific wise, like people that came here to do streaming, the first ones. It was interesting to see that in the beginning, the subscriptions that were disappearing throughout the months. We mentioned this before. We're talking about it because Brazilians are typical. I have in average 15% that are people that did a first change at Global Play, but does not have balance in the credit card at the end of the month. If I don't bring these user back, I will lose this kind of client. We have to understand Brazil, how content is being consumed, because the linear is being strong, is the country that people want to have to do payments installments. Here is not Europe or US. Brazil needs, the Brazilian population needs the payments to be installments. If you do not offer the quality content and linear program, there is no strength. So we have to understand the Brazil and its consumer. And Globo has this advantage, and it's a huge country with different cultures within itself. Douglas, I left you for the end because I want to provoke you. As we are among queens, three amazing girls, so you will be the ring. I really enjoyed the Tatiana's and Juliana's speech because we are working with what Juliana mentioned regarding content near the consumer at the point when you start. And I agree, when we talk about a typical country, we have to bring knowledge and references that is in their own companies or Instagrams to be to help them to create it with quality, to teach them so they are part of this meme or this media, because the consumer is a major player, the actor. So if this person sees something bad, it goes away. So the users are getting this knowledge and wants it for itself as an entrepreneur to have a nice content. And now we're doing this even with Globo Scene generating ads for TV. I love Globo Scene. So as you see, we are bringing today for Global Scene, we are launching this week along with Google for app Google owners in their store to have ads created with our technology. And also we took to Facebook Messenger to the user to create a movie instead of just recording in stories. So at the point that you have something good in content, teaching what is quality content like Master Chef or other major shows, and to show what is a good production so this person can understand what is good for itself, like rural or inland Brazil, in homeland Brazil, those that have access. This is a long tail that we have to create, and we must be the protagonists of this access to content and quality content. We have leaders in creation and technology, and we have the obligation to take this for the consumer through technology and all the knowledge we hold. I have a question to Douglas. I work with content I'm a fan of technology. Well, I worked in US and other Latin American countries, and the Brazilian has something wonderful, that is enjoy technology. When the Brazilians understand the technology, they appropriate fast, like the growth of smart TV. They are becoming very needy utensil that will be there to be accessed. When YouTube was well understood, we are the second country in creators in YouTube. Children here in Brazil do creation, do creation for YouTube. And there is this passion because it's a creative people. And the people in Brazil are doing lemonade from a single lemon. So even starting with startups, as people take the platforms and use in favor itself, even how to use in another way in technologies like Douglas's, and it's able to be understood so quickly and so easy, and it will be appropriated. In Brazil, it must be simple, dynamic, enjoyable, and fun. I would like to
have this opportunity to tell how can we end this first question and answer part. What do you think about the context of content and form? But it's important also to have an understanding how is the form that we are rethinking about the content production. Can you speak about what you've been doing? And you live abroad, you are doing a fantastic job. You were invited to this panel. And I would like to tell the audience that this is incredible because we spoke individually with different goals and purposes. And when we started to align, we see that everybody knew each other. So I would like to add that this was incredible. So could you please tell us more about the form? Oh, you know that I will answer a question. Remember what Juliana mentioned. We are one of the biggest creators, and together with Globo, what we call Globo Scene, with our stay film technology. So we have photos, videos, and data. We have team videos. We had more than 1.5 million in users. I'm between Miami and Brazil. I've been traveling back and forth, but we have a country full of creators, and we are bringing the first country that where the consumers, they create their own advertisings for TV. They are registered properly in our Ancine, our film organization, and they offer films and also institutional films as well. And the creator of small and large companies, they can understand for big advertisers, for any size of entrepreneur. So with our main role is the user, the consumer. And what do you mention? For example, we have some steps that we have to instruct the user with images to have a good quality content. What you said, the Brazilian will go deeper. And with Google, we are launching Americas, Latin America, Brazil. We have Brazil, Argentina. Brazil is part of Latin America because Brazil is a different market because Brazil has the size of a continent and a different language as well. So we've been working with 3 markets. And for Google, we have the first Brazilian clients. When Globo started to publish this, people are open to new technology in Brazil. They want a very good quality content, and they want to really have this. So we were born with a technology for the final user, and now we are helping Google, Facebook, and Globo for the consumer to have a very good tool for them to create advertisings. And as Teresa mentioned before, this democratization of content, it doesn't kill the professional content, the 30 seconds when you cry during the Mother's Day, because this gives access to that person, and he's a mini company, but he wants to see his advertising in Globo, for example. And then from there, it will go to everywhere. We bring for the client that never thought about TV to work TV as a tool. And we have Global Play bringing people a huge content. Can you imagine that if the consumer can have access to Global Play, Globosat, and also internet, and it's a very strong channel as well, and for him to have all available media and to participate as a main player, as a protagonist. So I would like to use this opportunity to tell, Juliana mentioned that the content, she reinforced that the content is the king and the platform is the ring. And then you mentioned the queen, but the queen can have a fundamental role in the new moment we are living, that it's a data in general. So trying to put everything together, summarizing everything, we are treating about the platforms for delivering content, very high quality quantity, and the creation of an integrated ecosystem like Global Play. And with Stay Film, we have democratization, that these small creators, medium-sized creators, they can create their own content. That was something that they couldn't do in the very, very near past. And they are needed as well for you to tell very good stories with high quality, to involve people. And Juliana also mentioned that to prepare formats, and also how in this new universe to have so many KPIs, how can you deliver value to the brand? You deliver value to the brand, to your distribution partners. So please summarize this and relate this and put it together. Data, brand, role, contents, and the platform universe, everything together and mixed. So start with Teresa, please. You mentioned something very important, the data role in this world, in this strategy that Global is creating, Global Play, and Global Play is monetized not only with a direct subscription, but also with advertising as well. Global Play is the revenue. Global Play's main revenue is advertising and direct subscriptions, consumer subscriptions. And a concept that is very fashionable that we called NBO, next best offer. It's a concept that means we have implemented the recommendation of content recommendation, and we have now the sale recommendation. What is sale recommendation? It's understand the client's data, purchases, economical power, and through algorithms to project this involving the purchase power. So I have the best offer to Douglas, to Deborah. What's the best offer? Would it be an annual Global Place subscription? She didn't have any credit card problem. Maybe she has kids or he has kids. And this concept that we created, the advertising, will have this as well. Which will be the best advertising, the best platform? How can I call this consumer? So this will go together. I have to understand Dani to have the best offer for her. She's not in the basis, but we know we have in Global Play 20 million users. How can I bring these people to my my base? I have to know this user. And this is all summarized in user data. So I like to add something, something that I believe it's very interesting. We have to use data to have an informal conversation, a very candid conversation. And I received some products from Global Play and other platforms, and they're like informal with me. Maybe they get to know me, they know my interests. So this is very important that this is done in the new data protection law. And as I am the responsible for the sales journey, we have to be transparent. They have to have a benefit. And how am I going to deliver this data? And how am I going to use the consumer's data? I have a master that tells me, I will be more transparent as much as possible. Either you are transparent or you are not transparent, right? It's very good, this. And Holly, what do you have to add? Because you are on the side of the content and you have the transit of these several distribution windows. And you are also with the advertising market. How is for you to deal with this data? Data exists for a long, long time. You had research and you had service, but data now, they are huge. You had 1,000 people to do a survey, but now I open my analytics and I can have women, men, boys, girls, what did they talk, what they are talking, what worked better. So we have so many data. We are buying, we are exchanging our data system and how to use this. And the discussion was, how can we add to have these results? How to really have this data to reach Dani, and maybe Google has another different approach. On my side, how is our data to create content? What is happening in our market is that the brands and advertisers, they want to be the owners of the content. You can do those 30 seconds. They are very sophisticated and complicated. And then when a brand wants to deliver the brand awareness, which kind of brand it is. They have to deliver using 15 or 30 seconds, 9.90 in Casas Bahia, but maybe Casas Bahia is a family place, a family kind of store. So which will be the Casas Bahia awareness? So why are you going to choose Casas Bahia? And this, it will be the content that will bring this to you. So I have, for example, the TV channels. They work again with market researchers. They are classic researchers. So I will always ask, and I was, if you are winning, Ibope works. If you are losing, Ibope doesn't work. This kind of service. And Global Play can tell you exactly who is building. Global Play can tell you, it's me, my daughter. How long did I stay in front of the Global Play content? Did I like? I didn't like. So we are dealing with content. And then we have the experience, we have the human being, and you have the experience. Only human beings, only you get to know Brazil, what Brazilians like, Brazilian language. But this is a bit crazy. But I have, for example, I have to speak about competition. When you think about Netflix, the Queen's Gambit, which is the famous series right now. So people are looking for chess games. So those, they are demanding chess games. Until now, nobody was playing chess, but now everybody wants to buy a chess set as a Christmas present. So it can be a gift, a game, or a series produced in Hollywood, and it costs $2 million. If the content is huge and the story attracts you and calls your attention, and the brands are understanding this. So, and the clients, the platform clients, they are asking for, so I want to speak with 34-year-old women that they stay at home for 2 hours daily. And so you have to deal with talents and experience. You can have the same server, but they are going to install that server, and the program will be in a different form, and they will have a different way of dealing. Once I was speaking about a project that is part of Global Play, that Stella Artois was an excellent program, and it was so excellent. And we have this content traveling abroad. It was an excellent business for Global Play, for Stella Artois, and for Alexa Atala. Wow, this is a very good example of integrated actors. And Alex told me something very interesting. So how much Alexa Atala, what is the value of Alexa Atala on TV? And I can give the same cake receipt for 3 different cooks. But when I sign my cake, for example, Stella Artois was a beer. But it's Alexa Atala who is telling you that he likes that kind of beer, right? It's Alexa Atala telling you that he likes Stella Artois. So the return for the client was fantastic. I was in a restaurant and it took me 1.5 hours to be seated because it was in Global Play. It was a famous restaurant, and you have the second season, and Globo is giving us this. So this is perfect. This case is incredible. BI. We have all the screens at our disposal. It's incredible. And Douglas, what about you? You developed the experience, you developed a platform, and what do you think? How can you tell us, how do you want to tell us with the dimension which is ours, and with the democratization, with the audiovisual content for small and medium-sized companies? You know that when I hear cases like this one, I'm very happy to see a possibility like Stella Tuar gave us. It was a position of Stella Tuar to make these restaurants grow. And I keep imagining for the future, and SET is doing this now. What will be our next 5 years to generate this for the small advertiser, small entrepreneur, for he or she to be part of this, like the restaurant was part. I'm going to open this. I have the Global Play subscription, and I want to see this. The name is Fora da Rota. And I've been thinking the same way that this promoted restaurants, because they had two brands, big brands, Stella Artois and Alex Atala, and a distributor like Globo. When this will start to go down the long tail, not only the restaurant will be the small participant and work together with Alex Atala, but be part of this content and the image that you can see in a series. And to be really, you can generate content to be inserted in the series in a 4K in 7 seconds to Globo. And you can insert an advertisement for 7 seconds. And imagine if you can do this to be part of the content. And I see some kind of ramifications of this. We started up, we were born as a technology startup, but we know a lot about advertising, storytelling and advertising production. And I can imagine how can we bring this for the regional areas, to bring the regional accent to that region. We created in Stay Film for Global C a Uber, locution Uber. So all the speakers can be part of us, and they can put their voices in the advertisings that will be broadcasted in Ceará. Someone in Ceará, they want to hear the accent of Ceará. They don't want to hear São Paulo accent or Rio de Janeiro accent. They want to hear Ceará's accent. So when you can bring the small and medium-sized entrepreneur to have an advertisement in Globo, and you can tell them what is good, what is bad, what is good for them to watch. And if they can understand this, and when they come and participate in all these scenes, not only as a spectator, but also you can talk to them better. This data will help us to approach these people. So for example, this kind of music will be wonderful for a pharmacy advertising, or maybe this kind of advertising will be very good for a restaurant or a delicatessen or a chef not as known as Atala, but this is a very good analogy. We have to democratize and to involve everybody to be part of all the platforms and participate in all of them. And this makes my eye shine. And the growth that we can see of Teresa in Global Play, what they are doing in a very strong market like OTT. I have a case with the Amazon TV. I know this case. You are guilty for this case. For example, this is very crazy because he could win that slot in Globo because people like it, because the regional culinary was wonderful. They wanted to cook that recipe. So look how this is important. So Globo has its affiliates all over Brazil to bring these regional aspects. We have our own programs in our regional TVs and their own advertising. Globo is 60 years old. They have lots of 100 million people watching Globo. This is brilliant. So my girls and my boy, Globo, we are very good in having partners and competitors, and we have to inspire ourselves. It's very good to see the Netflix and to have the opportunity to watch a program that beat Globo. And this is part of our market, and the consumer will be the big winner. The Global Play case, when you look Latin America, Televisa tried to have its own platform and several different big channels. They wanted to have their own channels and they had money to invest. They tried to have their own platform. And Globo have more than 20 million subscribers, and it's growing. It's the only success case of a Latin American company that could really, really defy the foreign companies. I said 20 million users. This is the secret. Then we can talk about it over a glass of beer. What means 20 million subscribers? So I have to end this part for Kojo to end this part because the time was running. We could go over a glass of beer, a shop. So, Kojo, I'll pass the floor.
Well, I really admired with the quality of our discussion, but I would like to call your attention for Teresa's aspect and take it as a way to show how Globo acknowledge the presence and the growth of other players. And when we talk about the transition of the traditional model to a digital one, where the capability of network interactions is broader and will create and shape a new world in all sectors, this is undeniable. We start to see the importance of this ecosystem. And before talking about ecosystems and talking more about the issue of taking into consideration the different regions, when we talked before, she brought some aspects in as well as business models. Julia brought this point of view in which she pointed out the relationship with Brazil is very special because in her group there is a specific business model to meet the demands in Brazil. I'd like you to talk more about it, to talk about the importance of the ecosystem facing digital and economy, this digital economy world, and the power of connect, and not based upon the industrial model or pure competition, and the companies want to be first always. Now, Julia, you have the floor. Well, Brazil is a better country, as all we said before, like Teresa and Douglas, and every day is necessary to reinvent itself. And we have to reinvent ourselves. And now the business model for Brazil goes to the other regions because of the innovation. When the marketing director of PG or other company, which are our clients for many years, it is being stimulated and is pressed to bring something new. So it's open to innovation. That's why I say Brazilians like innovation. So I couldn't bring the traditional business model. We are in a process that when I came back in 2015, I've been in a constant transformation because each agreement is different from the other. There's no copy and paste. I think that's that. With Global, I have 10 different business models, and I will create the 11th one. And 2021, I will do that. And working and listening to Douglas, I'm thinking of taking things that he has to my clients. And I think that any leader, in, it doesn't matter what kind of industry, if it's a content platform, any leader in Brazil or in the world, especially in Brazil, you open your mindset, be out of the box, always looking for results, not to go crazy in a frenzy, but among within the parameters, the more you get out of the standards and more authentic it is extremely important. I was yesterday with a TV star, and she said, if Brazilians do not forgive you, if you not authentic, and she recorded a live wearing pajamas, and that is what happens. So we started to create new businesses. We like digital. We are uh, filled with young people, and we like technology. We like to take the pieces and assemble them, get them together. We control all the digital from Mexico downwards. It is done in Brazil, and we teach other uh, parts of our branches in the world. We teach them, not in the mall only. Like Teresa said, is we are always trying to improve, and that's it. And more that we are not thinking about exclusivity. The more is spread, disseminate, the more awareness, more possibilities in business I bring. I'm not stuck. Like coronavirus does not kill me as company because not all the eggs in the same basket. Precisely. I give example of the Master Chef because I saved my year because I had it digitally and created a format in the digital, only in the YouTube we're able to deliver for the advertiser that was already promised for before. If I didn't accomplish this, I would have serious problems. We saw that Disney's coming to the marketplace. When people say, "I'm sorry," to us, I watch the Netflix or any other platforms. Well, there is space for everyone. When Disney wanted to come into the place, which is the greatest storyteller, it came to talk to the greatest storyteller in Brazil, and they did it well. G1 is a strong platform, so Globosat is market leader. As I said, Globo does not put all eggs in the same basket. Think, get together. We did Globo Sing for Globo, and we already have Disney for 3 years at State Films, and we have different movies. So we had Marvel as well. So we produce video for the user with storytelling with these major brands. We applied storytelling for Global Sync for the video production by the user. So adding the efforts, the strength was possible. It was very nice. So it's worthwhile, a world of partnerships. It is possible to have a single player. It's necessary to have partnerships. Well, guys, I'm sorry I interrupt, but we're in 1 minute closing this panel. So it went very fast as well. Was great. So I really want to deeply thank you, bringing lots of learning, and it's an evolution for the whole industry, and I hope you feel the same. Thank you for your participation. Thank you, dear Kojo, girls and boys. Thank you. It's an honor. Kojo mentioned that you were amazing, and amazing results are delivered by amazing people. Thank you. Thank you indeed.
Tchau, tchau.
Prazer. Tchau, tchau.
Prazer. Mas muito obrigada, Tereza,
Thank you,
Douglas.
Teresa, Douglas, Juliana, and you stay close because you'll soon come with our international guest.
Para daí existem dois tipos de projeto no mercado hoje. Ou são projetos que vão trazer uma redução no seu custo, ou são projetos que vão apoiar o aumento das suas receitas.
Porque a gente sabe que cada investimento que é feito nesse momento tem que ser o melhor possível para trazer o resultado mais rápido possível.
Ajudando os clientes nessa jornada de entendimento do próprio negócio, do entendimento da tecnologia dele.
Começa lá na pré-venda. E isso até no pós-venda, depois no suporte, é um diferencial da Digital.
Quando a gente aprende com o cliente, isso melhora a nossa entrega.
E o nosso maior desafio é continuar sempre entregando aquilo que é novo.
Momento. Hello.
Socorro, achei que a gente tinha voltado. Muito bem, estamos de volta para a nossa última sessão de hoje com Keynote Speaker.
With our keynote speaker, Alex Natescu, will be talking about the pandemic is influencing the hyper-connected relationship.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you. Alex. We are. Alex is from Romania, a great guy. I've talked a lot. He's part of the Infinity Group. It's a guy with a fantastic strategic vision, and we were very pleased that he could participate and will add a lot in this discussion. Would you like to comment? Well, for us, it's a great pleasure to have Alex because, as you could see from the first discussion debate, the paving of the hyper-connected world, and the second discussion, Kojo brought the global differences in the world between Asia and the US. And now we'll listen to Alex, a Romanian, that brings a dimension that for us Brazilians may be something new. And here we'll see this different point of view.
So, Alex, it's a great pleasure to have you here today, and it's your show time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys, for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be here virtually. Let me just share my screen so we can start the show. How I like to say, right? A second. Okay. All good? Do you see my screen?
Yes.
So I'm broadcasting live from my home from Bucharest, Romania, 1st of December 2020. I don't know if you guys knew, but this is like our national day today. So happy birthday to Romania, to put it this way. I wish I was there personally, but I'm really happy that we saw each other at the beginning of the year. So I still have that memory. We have a very interesting subject to talk about today, about the hyper-connected world and how everything has changed lately. And I hope we can analyze this from a human perspective, because there's a lot of talk about the business side, the technology side, and there are a lot of talented people who come out with a lot of cool stuff every day. I want to explore together the human perspective more and to see what things we have learned this year, especially working with so many countries at the global level. So without further ado, this little thing over here is the smallest thing in the world, invisible, which managed at the same time to have like the biggest impact on our lives, on our businesses, on a lot of things. And the problem is that basically it changed everything. And what was like the most shocking thing, guys, is that it managed to change everything on a global scale. Simultaneously. And I'm telling you this because, working with so many countries and with people on so many different parts of the world, when this started to happen this spring, it was like overwhelming, to talk with so many people and everybody at the same time to be affected by this new thing, this global pandemic, which started to happen so fast that nobody knew what hit us. And to be honest, I think this never happened to such a connected world. And I think the fact that we were able to communicate in with such speed and in real time while this was happening was also a big contributing factor to the way the information circulated, and the entire pressure that formed around this situation. So I want to talk about people, right? Because one of my key principles in life is people first, and people first always, no matter what. And I think the first thing that I want to mention is that the first discussions we had with our colleagues, right? I mean, at the beginning of this pandemic, the whole idea was, what are we going to do? Because the uncertainty and I'm talking this as a business leader, right? The uncertainty is always there in business. I mean, the moment, and this can be confirmed by any entrepreneur, we live in uncertainty, right? But it has a different degree. It's more uncertainty, less uncertainty. There are risks that we are taking, right? Calculated, so forth. We always know how to react when something happens to the business, right? If your sales are dropping, you're going to sell more. If, for example, you have a problem with the delivery, you're going to go there and fix that problem. The issue was that the moment this happened to the entire world, we didn't know where to go and act because nobody has been through something like this ever before. At the same time, while you have to know exactly what to do, it's like driving a car with a very high speed at night without headlights in the fog. And while you are driving this car like this, and this is, I think, 90% of the businesses during the COVID, at the same time, you have to be somehow able to keep your passengers, calm and to keep your passengers safe. And I think this was like the biggest pressure on business leaders all over the world during this pandemic. The most important thing that I want to mention here is that we chose to look also at the positive things. And everybody can confirm, either they work for largest corporations, global companies and brands, or entrepreneurial companies. I think during this period, a lot of interesting things happened as well. We got to see each other's, cats, see each other's dogs, see each other's fridges, because a lot of people, were doing this from their kitchen, when working from home. And I think this is truly an interesting thing because, if there were true connections there and people were actually working in a trust environment and they had the right culture, I think this can only amplify it in a good way. It only brought people closer. Like these screens that we are using right now, to do our jobs, they kind of opened up a window into each other's lives even more than before. So basically the connections were there in terms of the colleagues. The only thing different is how we acted them out, right, on the connection side. To move a bit further, I want to talk a bit about the businesses, because at the end of the day, this is a totally new paradigm. And when I say a new paradigm is because all of the sudden, any type of old business model that used to work simply couldn't find itself in the new reality. And why is this an issue? Because a lot of the large companies had found themselves to be like startups again. And this is an incredible thing to do, because you can become a startup in a sense that you really need to find your place, find your position, find your right business model, find the right technologies that you use to run your business. But do you still have the spirit to do that? Do you still have the desire to do that? And I think that was a key differentiator in some of the companies that performed during this period and some of the companies that didn't perform during this period, right? And I also want to mention that, especially during these times, all of these technologies, like to build the e-commerce very fast, digital, customer experience, performance, data analytics, data science, digital transformation, currently used trends that had to be accelerated and implemented in the right way. All these things came at once. And the problem is, since we are talking about connections, I think the key here is all the businesses had very little time to find new ways to connect with their clients and audiences. And I think this is, again, something that made the key difference in who managed to float, who managed to succeed, and who went under in this period. Last but not least, I want to talk about consumers, but I will not call them consumers, because the consumers, it's us, right? We are consumers. We and all the people, that need stuff, to live their lives, and they want to interact with brands in order to buy that thing that they need. And I think this is a very important aspect, because how we buy and the brands that we choose to keep near us in this period, and the way we are deciding, to spend our money is deciding what companies go up and what companies go bankrupt. And this is unbelievable. I mean, this is a given in any period. But now, in this context, everything is significantly faster, like extremely, extremely accelerated. And I want to mention a very interesting comparison that I have here. All of our connections, the connections that we had with our favorite brands, the connections that we had with our colleagues, the connections that we had, as businesses with other businesses, instantly became long distance relationships. And this is unbelievable if you come to look at it, because from the human perspective, a long distance relationship, right, is when two people have to live very far apart from each other, but loving each other and forming probably already a family, they make it work. So then the key insight here was, okay, how are the people making long-term relationships work? Why is that working? It's hard, obviously, but it's working. How come long distance relationships are working? Because again, just to make it clear, when the first lockdowns happened, boom, like that, all of our connections, all of our relationships became long distance relationships. And then if you look at people who have the long distance relationships, you will find out that first, their behavior is entirely different. They try to make all the arrangements, they try to use all their time in such a way that they can communicate with each other. They use a lot of technology to communicate with each other, right? I mean, a lot of the people, when forced in lockdown, were starting to learn how to use Teams, Skype, Google, all the video conferencing technologies. And the people who were in long distance relationships already knew how to use them. And a lot of interesting things if you go and analyze this a little bit. And it's pretty interesting because for some couples, nothing changed, right? But why am I talking about this in this context? Because the question I'm asking is, what is making these connections work? What is making these relationships work despite of the distance? What? And in the couples, in the human part, it's love, right? Because if somebody loves another person and the other way around, it doesn't matter the distance, it doesn't matter the distancing, it doesn't matter where you are, right? You make the relationship work using whatever you've got, using the technology, using rearranging your schedule and taking this as part of your life because you choose to. And then the question that I want to ask you, and it's a question that we ask ourselves as a principles. How can a business, how can a brand, how can a business make a long distance relationship with its consumers work? Because that is the key question. What can a brand and the business learn from a couple who's having a long distance relationship and making it work? What is the glue that can keep the brand and its clients together during these times? And of course, it can also be love, because there are some brands which we simply love, but it's also the trust, right? And when I say the trust, is that brands need to use the technology, they need to use digital, they need to use social media, they need to use all the things that they can use to create a digital interface with the client in such a way that they make that client trust them. They are transparent. They are honest as brands, right? So you see, it's already a comparison between like a long distance relationship couple works and a brand with a consumer. But it goes even further, because if you take a look at it, it's also about loyalty, which is very connected with trust. So we have a second thing now. We need to build loyalty. And loyalty is very important, because a lot of the studies that we had access to in this period, and I'm talking from many countries, so this is something that we noticed throughout the world. A lot of the loyalty programs now mean much more than they ever meant for for consumers. And this is a very important aspect of the period that we live in, because we as people are significantly more sensitive right now. And if a brand which I love has me trusting it, right, creates me a loyalty system and creates a great and easy to use interface, what is that brand going to build with me? A long distance relationship that works, which is also about me loving that brand, but it's also about the brand making me trust it, creating a loyalty with it, and so forth. So at the end of the day, if you look at these things from the human perspective, it's how you create the foundation for the relationship, and then how you also support this relationship every day, you know. And these are things that we really need to think about as businesses right now. How do we create this long distance relationship with our clients? And here I have to give you tens, hundreds of examples, but I just want to give you an example of a restaurant, okay? Because restaurants and the HoReCa business was amongst the hardest hit industries in because of this pandemic, and a lot of them closed the business period because they couldn't see like a restaurant business working without having people at the tables, and that is wrong. A lot of them were already doing deliveries, and they were specialized, you know, in connecting with digital platforms, in offering the delivery part, you know, in controlling the end-to-end quality of service, especially in these times, and having the relationship with the client. And some of them totally reinvented themselves. And I saw a lot of cool examples of restaurants that were combining, you know, the digital part with the real part, you know, sending you like pre-packaged materials and the instructions for you to cook them with their own recipes. Like, this is unbelievable. I saw situations in which, for example, they created a very specialized menu just for delivery. So they adapted the product, and then they added the digital layer on top of it, everything combined with social media communication. So what I'm trying to say is that it's all about how you react to the current situation. And you always, as a business, have to keep in mind, with all these actions that I'm taking, can I maintain a long distance relationship with my client? Because the client is not going to be there to touch my product. It's not going to be with his friends, you know, talking about, hey, what type of phone did you get? What type of new game did you buy? What did you do lately? You know, it's not that easy. I'm not going to be visiting as often, you know, a shopping mall, so I can see, I can touch the product and then buy it online. No. So if all of these things are off the table, and they were completely off the table in a big period of time, and also right now in a lot of parts of the world they are off the table, the question is, how can we use the current technologies that we have available, right, to make this type of long-term relationship work? And just to mention here one more thing, I wrote here something. A lot of people who are new to the internet are new to the internet. It's not a mistake. If you look at numbers in specific industries, we don't have early adopters anymore. We had fast adopters, right? We had forced adopters. We had people who didn't use the internet of their own will, people who didn't use the online services, but because of this current situation, right, they had to become internet users. We really have to consider them, and they are a very important aspect of our businesses right now. And not a lot of brands and companies are looking at this, and they are not approaching this the way they should. And this is something that I really wanted to mention. So I think the whole idea here is that every business right now, and I'm talking from restaurants to multi-brand global FMCG companies, right? They have to be magicians, masters. They have to be like, I don't know how to put this. they have to be incredibly skilled at combining advertising, technology, and data. Because this is the only way right now that these companies can actually maintain the long distance relationships with their clients in such a way that the client feels happy, remains loyal, trusts them, loves them, and things work further on. So I think this is a very important aspect, because I don't believe that brands can afford to communicate, like separately anymore, and not have a communication ecosystem. And I think these are very important lessons that a lot of the companies and businesses have learned during this period. Another thing that I want to share, and this is a very important aspect, which sadly costed a lot for a lot of businesses. Do not fight change. Do not fight change. The worst examples that I could share are about companies who fought change head on. We are not in a position to fight the change in any way. Change is happening whether we like it or not. I'm not saying to accept it. What I'm saying is, do not fight it by not accepting it or being arrogant about it, because a lot of businesses lost a lot of money and are not in a very good position right now because they fought the change, they refused to accept it, and they continuously said, nothing changed, things are normal, this will last 1 to 3 months and then it's back. No, do not fight change, because change always wins if you fight it directly. What you can do, of course, is to adapt your business to it. And I'm going to talk about this a bit later on. Now, I have a question for the audience, but I'm going to ask our kind moderators these questions. What do all these things have in common here? Work, entertainment, love, dating, eating, cooking, family visits, shopping, paying the bills, traveling, taxes, banking. What do all of these things have in common right now in our current reality? And the answer here is fairly simple. We do all of these things online. I mean, literally, if you look at each of them right now, all of them are done online or have the possibility to be done online. And take any of them. Family visits, right? If you want to visit your grandparents, because of the risks that elderly people are exposed to because of the COVID, you're going to use a Skype or a Teams, right? You're going to use FaceTime. You're going to video call them because you don't want to risk visiting. So even that is digital. Medical, right? The telepresence now. A lot of the visits to the doctor are replaced by video conferencing, and the telemedicine. Learning. We have, I think, almost like the huge majority of countries right now are doing online education. So the kids, the students, all of them are learning from home. We pay our bills online. We travel online, right? Because we use virtual reality instead of visiting places. All of these things are being done online right now, and this is an incredible aspect to an incredible access fact to mention, and I will tell you why. Before of this situation, before the beginning of this year, we used to talk a lot about extended reality, right? And the extended reality was that digital layer of reality that when you went home after going to work, driving to work, having lunch during work time with your colleagues in a restaurant, talking face to face, right? All of these things that you used to do, you came home, and the extended reality was, your occasional virtual reality game, your occasional, augmented reality little game on your tablet, playing with the kids. But now things are different. They are like entirely changed, because if you come to think of it, and this is something that I want to provoke you guys to think about as well, because I'm also thinking about this. If our main part of the reality is happening in digital right now, then the extended reality and the big experience itself is not that cool new VR game. It's the fact that I went out of the house, right? So what I'm trying to say here is our reality changed, but this is not the first time this happened, right? In our history as humanity, it happened before. All of these things you are seeing here are simple tools. So we developed a new generation of tools. Yes, we did it faster because of the pandemic situation. And yes, I'm really hopeful that, we already have like multiple potential vaccines. There is hope in the world that we will overcome this. But these things will stay because now they function, they work, and they have to be regarded as simple tools. The fact that we can do all of these things online should be regarded as a very cool set of tools. So what I'm trying to say is that we don't have to see this as the negative part. The negative part about this was simply the fact that we had to use them digitally. We were forced, okay, by the new context. What I'm trying to say, guys, and this is another learning that I want to share in this keynote, is we need to focus and keep the positive side out of this. And I want to also mention here that there are a lot of cool new trends that are appearing. Let me give you an example from the media side, okay? Because the entertainment and the fun which we do online, a lot of it is media consumption, right? I see a lot of trends going towards the, social sharing and social watching and social consumption of media. I really believe that there is something really cool that will happen in this area, and I think this is a very cool trend to watch out for in the media side. This list that I show here is just a little glimpse of all the cool things that kept appearing this year, because if you look at it just from the technology and ideas and concepts and creativity perspective, this year united the humanity in such a way and pushed a lot of innovation, pushed a lot of technologies in the market, pushed us to perfect them, pushed us to digitalize all the things that we could. And I think we as humanity will benefit a lot from these things. To move a bit further, I want to share something about culture. I think organizational culture for businesses, it's the glue that keeps a company working. And I think if there's one word that I want to use to underline and to define an organizational culture, that word would be trust. I think the connection between colleagues and co-workers and people who work together in a company, if that connection is defined by trust, things will work out. And I want to give you an example here from a lot of interviews that I did, a lot of shows, a lot of discussions. A lot of people asked, hey, is this work from home delivering? Is this working out? And I'm going to tell you exactly what I answer in all of those situations. The people who used to work good before the pandemic are working good from home. The ones who didn't continue in the same way. It's all about the people themselves, the culture of them communicating and trusting each other. At the end of the day, so this is a very we communicate, no matter how connected or hyper connected we are. At the end of the day, the human qualities are always going to be the ones that matter most. Another thing that I want to share with you guys, because a lot of businesses right now are, of course, adapting, readapting, reorganizing, finding new business models, digitalizing, and we help a lot of them, of course. but it's something very important that I feel I need to share. And it's something that I've shared in a lot of countries, in a lot of discussions. Don't redesign your business to adapt to the new reality. Redesign it so that it becomes adaptable to any reality. I'm going to say that again because it's very important. Design a system that always falls on its feet, because this pandemic and the way the world reacted and all the things we've learned in the last year showed us that we cannot adapt our business to this and then stay like this and watch it grow for 5 years ahead. No. All the models that we are thinking right now in designing need to be self-adaptive and first, and that means we have to get a lot of data sources when we build a business system. And not only that, but it always has to be ready for change. So don't just adapt, become adaptable. A very important aspect that I wanted to share. Two more things. The world, while travel stopped, true, became significantly smaller. And I think this is a very important opportunity for a lot of small to medium businesses to really become international. What do I mean by this? I traveled a lot, right? In order to do business development, I visited a lot of countries. I had tens of flights, every year, and visited 10, 20 countries each year. It was the only way to do it in some situations. But since this happened and travel stopped completely, guys, I have visited virtually more clients and more countries than I visited in the last 5 years. Because, it wasn't so natural to say, okay, good, so the next meeting will be in person, I will book a flight, and then we will meet, No. All of the sudden, borders disappeared completely. And this is an incredible fact about the new connections you are able to build right now. So if there are entrepreneurs in the audience, people who want to internationalize their businesses and they want to go outside, just do it right now, because it's unbelievable. You can do anything you want from in front of your computer. I'm talking to you guys from Bucharest, Romania. Here is 30 minutes after 10 p.m. So it's 10:30 p.m. I'm talking to all of you in Brazil. Okay, over there is 5:30. Maybe there are people from US watching this, so in their case it's 3. So what I'm trying to say is that the world is so small right now. It's so small right now. Use this opportunity, create new connections, use all the technology available, and go out there, because this never happened before. This never happened before. The possibility of jumping on a flight and going there and there and there and there, being off the table, everything can happen just virtually. Take advantage of this. Also, another aspect, because we talk about connections in a hyper-connected world, some people, although distanced, became closer. And this is a fact, right? When you have to organize your time in a different way, and when you have to, when you can be with somebody in a discussion like in one click, instead of, drive to that person, waste a lot of time, do a lot of things because that's the way they used to be done, you waste a lot of time. But right now, I think, and I felt that myself, a lot of people, although socially distanced, because of all the limitations, just became closer. The conversations became more meaningful, because if you are with somebody face to face, it's much easier to zone out rather than when you are in a call, right? And you talk to somebody. And some did not. I mean, a lot of connections were totally lost, but it's okay. And why do I say it's okay? I think this pandemic brought the best in us, and at the same time, it brought the worst in us. And I think a lot of people shown their true faces in this situation, and I'm sure a lot of you in the audience relate to this and feel the same way. And trust me, I think the best thing that happened is that our agendas, and contact lists for some of us got significantly shorter, and that's okay, guys, because this really helped us out in a way to be more efficient and not waste time where time shouldn't be wasted. And another nice thing, and this I'm talking about this because I saw a lot of studies in different countries, in the retail area, for example, when you stay at home, you become more passionate about working yourself on the home. You are closer to your family. There are a lot of advantages, and instead of wasting your time with connections that are not worth it, just spend more time with your family. And trust me, if you do that, you'll be way more efficient in the business side. This is also another thing that I wanted to share. As a conclusion, and I think this is something which was clear for everybody, but I just want to reinforce it. The future is ours. So what happens next? Where do we go from here? It's totally up to us. We don't know what the future will throw at us, right? As I said, the only certain thing is uncertainty. But what I can say is that if we use this uncertainty as an opportunity to keep us always learning, always curious, to keep us always involved, for how long we have to live, we always have to learn, we always have to be open, we always have to be ready to form new connections, meet new people, even if it's on the screen of a laptop. This will make all of us stronger. And another certain thing is all the people that were next to you when the world turned upside down in 2020. This is what I wanted to share with you today, guys, and I hope I'm useful in your journey towards 2021, which is very close to us. Thank you very much for being here. And guys, if the moderators have any questions, or if you want to discuss any of the subjects, please let me know. Until they decide, I'm going to have a drink of...
Abriu. Alex.
Não é microfone não.
Alex, can you hear me?
Absolutely, yes.
On.
I can hear you.
Alex, can you hear me? Yes. So I am not receiving your return because we have little technical problems here. So Alex, your presentation was incredible.
Voltamos pro ar.
Really thank you so much. And I will say you something that I listened today, and I think it was the main focus of the presentation, the main. No fight the change, because change always wins. It's a fantastic. Right. Thank you so much, Alex.
It was my pleasure. Obrigado.
Oh, great. And how can I say thank you in Romanian?
Mulțumesc.
Wow.
Gostei disso. Muitos whisky.
Yes.
Great. Bye, Alex.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Muito bem, este foi o nosso keynote speaker, Alex Chernat.
This was Alex Chernat. Dani Cojo, please provide us with your best takes and tell the public.
Olha,
In my opinion, we were having these expectations. We're not in the major screen. Okay, now we are back. We were wearing masks and now we took them off. It was a great pleasure for me in a very sincere and true way. It was a great learning. We heard many things, thoughts, questions, because all of us must do these questionings daily. As Alex brought that changes are coming and will win always. And we have to say it to ourselves as humans to be prepared to more and more changes, faster and faster. That's my final take. I thank you your participation. It's a great pleasure to be here for SAT. Was a great challenge, and also I'd like to thank all the team, all the staff, all the partners taking part. I will not name each and every one, it's not possible, but all that are here know well from my heart. It is an amazing work, and I let Kozo, my colleague, is the best moderator in this first day, and he'll do his final takes. Thank you for this acknowledgement. Thank you anyway. Well, finally, the industry of communication, media, and entertainment gave us a lesson that the process of matureness and transformation and evolution that's going through is directed to the digital in the future. It doesn't mean to kill the traditional model, but mainly to adapt and make this ecosystem that we have something that delivers true value for the end user. Thank you. Thank you, Daniela Souza Wagner Cojo. I'd like to invite you tomorrow, for tomorrow at 2 p.m. with the topic, the power of innovations, technology that are changing the lives of people and the business world. Have a great evening. See you tomorrow.